got me? Can you hear me?
I think I'm done. Yeah. Courteous.
Is that better? Testing, testing, testing.
I'm doing F minor. Okay.
Testing.
That's more now. All right. All right, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. All right, I haven't done this in a while. I haven't emceed in a while, so if I completely throw things off course, sorry about that. Well, welcome to Galveston Bay, Houston Oasis. Yeah, today we're kind of taking over a little bit, and I'm excited for that. It's, we started up our social events down on the Galveston Bay Oasis side of things, but we haven't started up our Sunday meetings yet, so we're all able to come out here and see you guys again. But just like we do it there, here we start things off with a couple songs from our featured musicians. And this week we have Chelsea Beech. She is a local musician who plays top 40s with a jazzy feel. So I'm going to go ahead and let her take it away.
And JP Lee. He's hanging out with me. It's good to see y'all again.
Nothing in this world could
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. How does this work? All right. Hello. Can you hear me? Am I coming through now? Okay. Just making sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for that. Made my day starting with an Echo Smith cover. Still not on? I think I'm just talking loud. Is it on now for real? Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I didn't want to get so intimate with this thing, but I guess I'm going to have to. All right. Well, thank you very much for that. And like I said, thank you for starting with an Echo Smith cover. That made my day. All right. So I'm really excited to be able to welcome, two of my closest friends are the talks today. And starting that off for our community moment is going to be J.C. Liao. He's lived in Houston for 30 years and holds a master's degree in social work. He's passionate about diversity, volunteering, and helping vulnerable populations. He serves on the Oasis Network board and is a member and treasurer of the Galveston Bay Oasis chapter. So please help me welcome J.C. Liao.
Gotcha. This one works? You guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. This close? Can you guys hear me? Okay, now I can hear myself. Thank you. Bear with me. I'm kind of nervous. I haven't done this in a while. Back when I was a teenager, I ended up getting wrapped up really into my faith. I was an active Catholic, and what ends up happening, and I think it's kind of hard unless you kind of participate in a faith tradition or growing up in that kind of environment, but as you grow up in that environment, I personally needed to be admired, right? And I got really used to kind of sharing stories like, yeah, there were some kids playing in the basketball field, and, I asked them if they knew about my Lord and Savior, and, they kind of gave me weird looks. I don't think they were ready for that message, but hopefully I planted that seed, right? And I would love sharing these messages in my church communities because it would give you admiration. People appreciate when you're, spreading that message. And there was also kind of a sense of superiority that, that I had towards my faith, towards others, It's like, okay, well, they're Christian, but they're not, true Christians, right? And there was also kind of a lack of empathy that I had for other people's suffering, other people that might live from a different environment as I was. I just kind of looked down on them because I was like, well, they're just lost in the world, And additionally, I was swept away by this feeling that, as long as I had God in my life, I could do anything. He could go ahead and give me the power that I needed, right? So if you're keeping track, you already kind of had a desire to be admired. You had a desired, or looking down on other people. You had kind of a obsession with power, These are all very narcissistic qualities, And I ended up getting swept away with that. But in the back of my mind, there was something that just kind of ate at me, and I would call it my intellectual doubt. And I would ask, okay, well, if our evidence is so strong, why are there still Jewish people? Why haven't they converted over? Shouldn't all Jewish just be Christians? The answer that I would get, it just wasn't very satisfying to me. I was like, that's it? That's the reason? The reason that I was given was, well, they were expecting a king. They weren't expecting, a homeless person that hung out with prostitutes. And to me, I was like, there was just something that wasn't satisfying to me about that. But again, I had these narcissistic traits, but I had this intellectual doubt that just kind of ate at me. And one day, both of them kind of came clashing down, and I just felt like I just need to talk to somebody from the Jewish faith. I just need to hear it I just need to understand their perspective. And armed with, because I feel like I got swept away with, there's scriptures that promote conflict. They'll promote, grabbing the Bible and using it as a sword, so I did. I went to a synagogue, and I thought I was having a conversation, but in looking back, it was actually very confrontational. I actually talked to the rabbi of that community, and I was like, well, how can you not, see Jesus as the King of Kings now? He's the most important thing in our planet. And initially he was very patient with me, but again, it just kind of escalated, and he essentially ran me out of the synagogue, but rightfully so. But I remember that he would say, well, if if the Gospels are true, what did the thief say to the Jesus when he was hung? And if you compare the narratives of the Gospel, there's conflicting stories. Some, and one, Jesus acknowledged them, another one, they didn't talk to him, another one, they did talk to him. So what did Jesus drink when he was up in the cross? If you read the narratives and compare, there's conflicting stories as far as what he drank. And pretty much, if you look at the whole crucifixion and you compare the different narratives of the Gospels, they're conflicting narratives to that. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? I was like, give me the Bible, Rabbi. I was going over there kind of with my Christian kung fu to beat his Jewish karate, and he ended up knowing karate and kung fu. So I was completely outmatched and outclassed, and I remember being very upset because I was like, wow, how can I be so badly trained in this? Why did it take a Jewish rabbi to show these cracks in my faith, But I owe a lot to him because he provided the path to free thought and me being able to be more critical of the church narrative. So one day, I ended up going to a social function, and that rabbi was there. And fortunately, by this time, I was kind of a recovering religious narcissist. I was more of a humble, secular guy by this point, which is good, because had I still been a narcissist, I would be like, oh, here it goes, round two. I got you now, right? But I wasn't. So, I purposely sat down next to him because I really wanted to, just feel like I had to redeem myself. I made such a bad impression to him the first time around. But when we were sitting next to each other, there was nothing for us to talk about. And I don't think he recognized me, but I was still just trying to have like a normal conversation. I was like, but it was just crickets. We couldn't come up with anything to talk about. And I was like, so how's traffic? And he's like, it's okay. And then just dead silence after that. And I was like, man, it's just, we're so close to each other, but it's just like, we're just worlds apart, right? So in order to crack break the ice, I should say, the icebreaker, I asked him, I was like, hey, you want a joke? And he's like, okay. So he was as bored as I was, so he's like, sure, why not? So I told him, I was like, okay, well, look, one day the Pope decides to kick all the Jewish out of the Vatican. And he was already kind of confused. He was like, okay, why would the Jewish? I was like, Rabbi, don't overanalyze it. Just go with this joke for the premise of the joke. He's like, okay, fine. So, one day the Pope decides to kick all the Jewish out of the Vatican, and of course the Jewish people are upset, and they end up making protests and everything. And the Pope says, okay, well, look, we'll have a debate. If you guys win, you guys get to stay, and if I win, then you guys got to leave, right? So so get the most religious, the most respected religious leader of your tribe, and we'll have a religious debate, right? So they went on and they looked for the most respected leader that they had, but unfortunately he didn't speak the language, right? He didn't speak Italian. So they told the Pope about it, and the Pope was like, well, how hard can it be to beat this religious, guy? So you know what? We'll just have a silent debate, right? So the debate started. The Pope got up, and he did this, the number one. So then the rabbi came by, and he said, oh shoot, I forgot the joke right now. I forgot the joke. I got so nervous right now, I got the joke. So, sorry, let me repeat that, let me backtrack. So the Pope gets up and he does the number 3. Then the rabbi gets up and he does the number 1. Okay. And then the Pope gets up again and he's like, he does this, right? And then the rabbi points down to the floor. And then the Pope, he shows a bread and a wine. And then the rabbi shows an apple. And by this time, the Pope is just shocked. He couldn't beat him. Similar to me with the rabbi, he couldn't beat him. So he's like, okay, you know what? You guys win. You guys get to stay. And all the Jewish went ahead and celebrated, and then the bishops and the cardinals approached the Pope afterwards, and they were like, hey, what happened? And they were like, well, you know, I went ahead and raised my 3 fingers, showing the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, the Trinity. But then the rabbi reminded us that there's only one God. And then what happened? I was like, well, I went ahead and did my hand like this to show that, you know, God is everywhere. And then Rabbi pointed to the floor and reminded us that God is here with us. Okay, and then what happened? I was like, well, then I showed the bread and the wine to show the body and the blood of Christ. But then the rabbi took out an apple and reminded us of Adam and Eve and the original sin. So I couldn't beat him. So then the Jewish people went to the rabbi and they were like, Rabbi, what happened? It's like, well, he told us that we had 1 day to leave. Oh, sorry, 3 days to leave, you know. I told him, now one of us was leaving. Then what happened? He said, scram. So we're gonna stay right here. Then what happened? I don't know, he took out his lunch, so I took out my lunch. So the rabbi laughed that I was telling the story to him. And he told me, he's like, you know, there's actually a lot of truth in that joke because we're very literal people. And we ended up talking, told me about his family, what led him to be a rabbi. You know, I told him about my aspirations, and we just had a great talk. And I was just like, man, why couldn't have I done that? Why did I have to be this way as a secular instead of like that as a Catholic? Why couldn't I have learned, you know, that, you know, people are more important than beliefs, you know? Now, I will say, now as secular, somebody that's involved with Oasis, I do get to see some atheists that remind me, they're ready to go ahead and pick up the Bible and pick it up as a sword, and they want to go ahead and they kind of remind me of my old self back when in my more religious days. And they'll ask me to partake in it. They're like, you know the Bible, this will be so easy, you know. And fortunately now I'm more of a live and let live. And, you know, like I said, it's sad that it took me such a long time to decide to lose the battle on orthodoxy and win the battle of brotherly love. But I guess it's better late than never, right? So, thank you.
Thank you, JC. I don't have any jokes. Yeah, so at this time, we'll take a short break for coffee. So get a chance to refill, grab some donut holes, meet some new people. A lot of our Galveston Bay folks are here. So if you don't recognize them, it's probably them. So go say hi, and we'll come back in about 10 minutes and move into our main talk.
Check. Check. Check mic 1. Check. Check the mic. Is it getting louder out there? The normal volume? Volume's okay, Abhishek? Abhishek, is the volume okay? Mic, check. Check, check, check 1, 2, check. Check the mic, check, 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 check. Check the mic. Check, check the mic, check, 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 check. Check the mic, check. Mic, microphone volume. Dr. Andrews, can you hear me? Oh, that's better. Yeah, that's good. A little bit more volume because Johnny needs all the volume in the world. Johnny wants, okay, that's great. Ándale. Yeah, I like that stuff. This way you're on the camera.
This is okay? Testing. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I will do that.
Good advice, but a little too late. Nothing but trouble everywhere I go, yeah. What I've been through, you never know. Got me down on my bending knee, weeping and bending like a willow tree. I'm not lying, it's not a fake. Tell by the look of my face, just so much a man can take. Sooner or later, we've been like a willow. Begging you, baby, you say it's too late. For goodness sakes, please give me a break. Just a little more than I can take. Got me down on my bending knee. like a willow tree. She looked at me real cool. She said, Albert, you ain't nothing but an overgrown fool. I'm gonna leave you. Gonna leave you behind. I said, baby, let me tell you that a good fool is hard to find. Now, baby, if you leave me, it would hurt me to my soul. I just can't understand why, baby. But a good fool. Take a lesson, baby. A good fool is hard to find.
right, everybody, if you could begin moseying back to your seats. Thank you. I like that there is a trend going. All right, everybody. Y'all mosey really well. Thank you. We're going to have one more song from our musicians, and after that, we'll move into our main talk. So, Chelsea and JP, go ahead.
Wake up in the morning and the sunlight hits my eyes, and something without warning bears heavy on my mind. And then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day, a lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day. Impossible to face when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way. When I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Oh, just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely, lovely day, 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 lovely day. Thanks, y'all.
All right, thank you guys very much. Closer, closer. I think this is just how it is. I don't know. All right, so this time I'm going to call up our main speaker, Janey Rizvi. He is a founding member of the Oasis Network. He's a Pakistani-American and former Muslim who became a freethinker in 2007. He served on the Houston Oasis Board of Directors for 7 years in various capacities, including marketing, governance, and finance, and as the board secretary. He serves on the marketing committee for the Oasis Network and is a contributor for Oasis Gaming. And I feel like he made this bio because it's way too humble. There's so many other things he does, as well as contributing to DIL developments in literacy. And of course, he's just been like a really great friend to all of us for so many years. So Janey, please come up.
Hey, what's up, Houston Oasis? How's it going? How is it going, Houston Oasis? Woo. Thank you, guys. It's been a while since I've been up here, so it's all super exciting. I want to start off by telling you what happens whenever there's a launch of a new iPhone. Of course, a lot of people get super excited. You know, people stand outside the lines of the store and they can't wait to get their hands on the latest and greatest thing. But there's also a completely different group of people that will fly all the way to the East Coast, where it's going to become launch time soonest in the country, and the stores will open and they'll be able to sell this phone to you. They'll also camp outside the store for days if necessary in order to be one of the very first people to get their hands on the newest iPhone. And as soon as they've got it, then the adventure begins. They immediately take it to a very complex center where that device is then X-rayed. They look at every spot of what's inside. How did they put this device together? What are the components inside of the newest version of this thing? And then, once they've gotten an idea of where everything is, they begin to pry it open. They unscrew the components. They take bit by bit, every bit of it apart, and carefully photograph every piece. And upload all of this information to the internet, where everyone in the world is waiting to get their hands on it. How did they make this new iPhone? And then, after every little screw and every little component has been carefully documented, then begins the process, piece by piece, of putting it all back together, powering it on so that it's as if you never took it apart in the first place. And this is what the repair community does. And this is the information that gets uploaded to the website iFixit, a website where 120 million people a year go to find out how to fix their broken parts. A site that serves not just individuals, but independent repair shops, because one day you're gonna drop that phone. One day that battery is just gonna fizzle out. One day that port, it just isn't gonna take a charge. And you'll drop it in the pool and you'll get water damage in it, whatever you do. One day it's not gonna work anymore, and there's an entire passionate group of people who want to know how to fix it for you, or teach you how to fix it yourself. So my name's Janey Rizvi, and I've had the great pleasure of being an officer for Houston Oasis, and then I termed out, and then an officer for the Oasis Network, and I am definitely over my term limit, so my days are numbered. And this community is incredibly important to me. I've been a member of Galveston Bay Oasis, of Oasis Gaming, and during the pandemic, I got into building computers. And because I got into building computers, I also learned how to fix them. And so many of my friends have asked me, hey, Johnny, I'm having this issue with my computer, or it's making these noises, or I really wish it could do this. And I've had such a great time being able to hang out with these friends and say, okay, well, let's upgrade it, or let's fix it. And there's an awesome feeling that I get every single time we power that thing on, it comes to life and does exactly what we were planning for it to do. And I get a lot of happiness knowing that the people that I was able to help get these things going are doing amazing things with those devices. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about this issue, which is going to affect us so much more and more. And it's called the right to repair. So what is the right to repair? Of course, if you want to repair something, you ought to be able to do it. What's the big deal? The problem is that manufacturers of devices, they really don't want you messing with it. It interferes with their ability to sell more of these year over year, and it can create inconsistent experiences, so they really want to control what's going on. So there's legislation that says, hey, if you buy something, it's yours. You own it, and you can do what you want to with it. And if it doesn't work anymore, or if you want to make changes to it, since it's your stuff, you ought to be able to do it. You ought to have the right to repair it. But not only does this affects consumer products, automotive, farm equipment, medical equipment, several different industries. And usually the manufacturers of these products are staunchly against your ability to get in and mess with it. So let's talk a little bit about why it's important to be able to repair our products. And I'm going to start with something that I know that this community is going to care about, and that's the planet. Electronic waste, e-waste, is one of the fastest growing segments of garbage that goes into landfills in the world. It's getting worse and worse every year. And 70% of the hazardous and toxic materials that go into our landfills comes from this electronic waste. It's dangerous for our health, and it's dangerous for the workers who have to manage these things. It's the largest stream of waste in the world that the United Nations is calling a tsunami of e-waste. And it accounts for 57 million tons every single year. Interestingly, that trash is full of gold and other valuable minerals and resources. That garbage is worth $62 billion, which is astounding that something so valuable goes into the trash. And less than 20% of our electronic waste gets recycled. We're completely toxifying our planet by discarding devices when they get old. And unfortunately, this problem is going to get worse because everything is becoming an electronic device. Something that wasn't once an electronic device now is. I recently had my garage stop working. The spring broke, so I called the phone number. The repair guy shows up and he says, yeah, we're gonna have to replace this thing for you. We want the smart garage door opener, or you want the regular garage door opener? I said, why the heck would I want a smart garage door opener? It's just one button. It has one job. He says, well, you can control it from your phone, and if you get any Amazon packages, they'll know that you have one of these things, so they'll just be able to leave your packages in the garage. That way your packages won't get stolen. I said, no way. I got the smart garage door opener, and it's really, really cool. So now we're going to have smart refrigerators that tell you, hey, you're running low on this. You want us to order it for you? And smart washers and dryers that alert you whenever your laundry is ready. And whether you use those things or not, everything is becoming an internet-connected device, the Internet of Things. And when it comes time, one day, when that device stops working or it needs a repair, the manufacturer will want you to go back to them. Not to get some independent repair person, not for you to do it yourself. They want to go back to them. This problem is going to continue to cars. So it used to be that, obviously you are able to take your car to any independent repair shop and they'll be able to fix any problem that you have. But what about self-driving cars and electric cars? The manufacturers of these cars don't want you messing with it. They'll say it's unsafe. Only we can do this for you. And more devices will go this way. So let me tell you a little about some of the practices that are occurring in the industry that we really need to be mindful of. And it starts off with the story of a young man. His name is Kyle Wiens, and he, in 2003, dropped his Apple laptop. MacBooks didn't exist back then. It was the Apple iBook. He drops his laptop and it breaks, and he says, I'm just going to go on the internet and find a manual so that I can repair the thing that broke. And to his dismay, he found that all of the repair guides had been taken down by Apple. Apple threatened to sue anyone who was putting that information online, and so there were no repair guides available. So being the tinkerer that he was, he did open it up himself, and in a very arduous and difficult way, repaired his laptop. But he thought to himself, this cannot be. I don't want things to be as bad for me, as bad for everyone else as they were for me. So he went and set up some cameras, and he took apart his Apple laptop and did the repair again, taking photographs and cataloging the steps to do so. And that became the website iFixit. Of course, Apple threatened to sue him and say, what the information you're putting up here is our intellectual property, you are to take it down immediately. I'm really glad he didn't, because now there are over 37,000 devices that you can go on that website and learn how to repair. And now with YouTube being as prominent as it is, you'll be able to see every step along the way. Companies start with threatening legal action if you share any information about their products that they don't want people knowing. And that's, unfortunately, just the beginning of it. Now devices are being made purposefully difficult to repair. Now, there was once a time when, let's say you bought a toaster, and the toaster went on the fritz. You could unscrew the toaster, take a look, and inside there was a schematic. It showed what the parts of that toaster were and how you could get them and how you could repair that toaster. The makers of the toaster understood this thing will not forever toast. So eventually you will need to fix it. Now, none of that information is available. And no one's allowed to post that information when they find it. So they also make the device difficult to repair. Now, batteries are glued inside of your device. They're not screwed down. They are stuck with adhesives. I mean, the average person who looks at a phone will be like, I don't even know how to open this thing. Everything is glued together. Next, they make unique parts. So instead of making standard parts that are available everywhere and that are cheap to find, they will make a part specific, for example, a screw. Not a Phillips head, not a flat head, but a very specific type of screw that they made just to keep you out of this thing. And only they've got the screwdrivers for it, and they won't let anyone make those screws, and they won't let anyone make those screwdrivers. So now, if you want to get inside, you have to have their tools to do it, only to keep you out of it. Repair companies will say, hey, you know what? You can use your special screws. We'll still figure out how to fix this thing. We'll still be able to find a way to get inside. But then, you can't get the parts you need to fix it. So, for example, in a laptop, if you spill water on your laptop, you need to repair the board. That board can be repaired with some solder, and maybe you have to replace some of the components, and there are people who know how to do it. It's not difficult. It doesn't take an engineer to do it. If you just learn how to do it, you can do it. You just have to have the right tools. But Apple will not give you the components for that board. They will not give you replacement boards. So what repair professionals do is they'll take a broken laptop, they'll take the board out of there, and they'll use it to repair damages in laptops that can combine parts and be repaired. And unfortunately, that's what they had to do. Repair professionals have said, okay, Apple, we get that you don't want to sell us the board, but we know the manufacturer that makes these for you. We'll just go to them and say, hey, you make all these boards. Certainly you can give us some. And they'll say, we have a contract with Apple that we can only sell this to Apple. We can't sell it to you, even though we've got plenty of them. And say, okay, well then certainly there will be a robust third-party market that someone can make a board that will go into the MacBook, even though it's not Apple's own MacBook, Apple's own board. We'll make our own. In the event that you need to repair it. You're not allowed to do that either. You can't get the parts needed, even if we know exactly how to fix it. Now, sometimes you can get the parts, but then the companies are getting smarter. They'll say, okay, this device will connect to the internet and check that all the parts are the parts that came with this device. And if you put a part that otherwise would work absolutely, perfectly fine with this thing, it'll recognize that it didn't come from this computer, and it won't work for you. Just to keep you from repairing your device. Sometimes people will say, okay, I have repaired a device. It had some problem with it. I was able to fix it, and now my business will be to sell this as a refurbished product. Manufacturers said you can't use our logos and our intellectual property to sell something that has been repaired. That battle went all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, thank goodness, we can buy refurbished products as long as they are labeled as refurbished clearly, but you weren't allowed to do that. They fought that in court as well. And do you guys remember when you would try to fill a printer cartridge with fake ink? Well, just replacement ink, because those things dry up so quickly. But they wouldn't let you print after a certain number of print jobs. It's as if the ink cartridge, even though it is full of ink, will say, you've printed more than the number of pages we know this ink cartridge holds, so we will no longer let you print with this cartridge. You have to buy one from the manufacturer, and then it'll recognize from the internet, yes, this is in fact one of the original new models, and you can print from this a specific number of times. I thought ink was supposed to help you print, but apparently ink now stops you from printing no matter how full that cartridge is, and the irony is just astounding to me. These are the kinds of things companies are doing. Apple they found that people were breaking their screens and going to independent repair shops often, and they wanted to drive people more into their own stores. So one of the latest things they did is, if you were to replace the screen on a broken phone from an independent repair shop, they would stop allowing your Face ID unlock to work. It would recognize that this screen has been replaced, and unless they did it themselves, features of your phone would stop working. And at worst, they could just say, we can detect that you've used some component in here that isn't our own, so this device will simply not turn on. What I want you to know is that the stakes are very high, and you really wonder, do I own the product that I bought? Or does the manufacturer own it, and they're just letting me borrow it until it's supposed to die, and I can't do what I really want to with it? Right to repair is about you owning your products and being able to do what you want to with it. Now, this problem isn't just affecting devices that break. Even if you take great care of your products. I had a client come to my office one day, and he says, Johnny, my banking app isn't working. I said, come on, sir, let's take a look. We take a look. He pulls out a phone that had physical buttons on the front of it. And I thought to myself, wow, I haven't seen one of those in a while. He had taken great care of his device. The screen was fine. The battery was holding a charge. It was connecting to the internet. He opened his banking app, and it said, this version of Android is not supported. And the reason it's not supported, what I explained to him is, sir, you've done a great job taking care of your device, but Google doesn't want to support security updates on this device anymore. They expected everyone would move on to the latest and greatest phone. And since they're not sending security updates to your device, the banking app recognizes it's not safe for you to use this app on this phone, and it won't launch for you. You're going to have to get a new phone. This is called planned obsolescence. When a company designs a product with a specific lifespan in mind, a specific support in mind, they have no intention of continuing to support it or making it safe to use afterwards, even if you've taken good care of it and all the components are working great, and all of that stuff goes into the trash, piling up into mountains of e-waste that is dangerous for us. It's not just consumer electronics. There is a popular YouTuber named Simone Yesh, and she is a brilliant designer and inventor, and she shares her designs on her YouTube channel. She bought a Tesla Model 3 car, and she says, I love this thing, but I want to make a couple of changes. And so she wanted to turn her cute little compact car into a cute little compact truck. And since she knew how to do it, she and her friends got together, and they hacked and sawed away, but they polished and painted and made the cute little Tesla Model 3 compact car into what they affectionately called a truckla. And truckla is adorable. Truckla works perfectly. And truckla is a hit on YouTube. So one day, inevitably, when she needed some software upgrades, she made an appointment with Tesla to get them, and the repair service center called her. And they said, we know who you are, and we know what you've done to your car. And it freaked her out so much that she didn't even go to her appointment. Now, there are many things Tesla could have done. Tesla will routinely lock out damaged cars or repaired cars from their supercharger network. Imagine having an electric car and not being able to charge it. Or they'll simply just not give software updates to that car. That means it won't receive security updates, and that's doom for an electric car. And she's very fortunate that Tesla hasn't done that to her, but I think everybody understands it's because she's a super popular YouTuber. And everybody loves Truckla. If Tesla were to ever cut Truckla off, there would be hell to pay. But not all of us are popular YouTubers, so we don't get to do it. Now, not just consumer electronics or cars. Farmers are affected by this issue. You may have heard of the tractor company John Deere. They make very popular tractors that are used by farmers to get us our food that we eat. Well, John Deere says that the farmers can buy the tractor and the tractor is theirs. They can do with it and use it how they want to. However, the software on the tractor is theirs, and the farmer is simply using it while they use the tractor. That means that anytime that tractor needs a repair, only an authorized John Deere repair professional can go to the location and repair it. Now, farmers are just rugged people, and they know how to fix stuff. And some of the videos I've seen are just hilarious. You've just got to see videos of some like overall wearing farmer getting out there with a laptop to hack their way into that software. It's just absolutely awesome. But that's what they have to do to get access to repair these things. You could repair the tractor, but the lock is a software lock. It just says, hey, we recognize that a John Deere professional you've opened this thing, but a code hasn't been sent by John Deere to allow it to work. And these are anti-competitive practices. And so if you're not a farmer and you don't like electronics, certainly you like ice cream. If you go to McDonald's, they have the ice cream machines that notoriously are never working. But I'm going to solve this mystery for you. I'm going to tell you why McDonald's ice cream machine doesn't work. It's because it requires an 11-step process whenever it has any kind of problem to take it apart, and then a 4-hour cleaning process, which a very busy McDonald's has a tough time scheduling. And repairs are authorized by Taylor, which is the company that makes the ice cream machine. Now, McDonald's franchisees hate that they can't sell ice cream to people who keep coming up and asking for it, and they keep having to tell them the machine isn't working. So they found a workaround. They found a company that is called Kitsch. They make an instrument that you can attach to the ice cream machine, and it's going to tell you exactly what's wrong with it and how to fix it. And of course, that battle is playing out in court right now. Now, these are all things in good fun. Electronics are kind of nice to have, electric cars are kind of nice to have, and ice cream is kind of nice to have. But what about the things that you absolutely have to have? If you ever go to a hospital, that hospital is full of medical equipment. And that medical equipment cannot be repaired by any independent authorized repair, cannot be repaired by the hospital, especially if people know how to do it. I'll give you an example. One person called into a popular show for Right to Repair and said, I work in a hospital and we've got this operating table. It's just a table with some hydraulics attached to it and a power supply. That's it. That's all the thing is. It costs $40,000 to buy one of these things. And when the hydraulics go out, the parts to replace it cost only $1,800. But they're not able to replace it. All those blocks that I talked about are in that operating table. Only the authorized repair professional can come and repair that thing. And especially when it's out of its service life, even the company's not interested in repairing it anymore. They're like, we don't have the parts, we don't have the people, you're just going to have to buy a new one. Who pays for all this stuff? We do. With skyrocketing costs for healthcare, this is what the money is going to. Another example I'll give you is an MRI machine, which you understand is an astronomically expensive piece of equipment. Well, that thing has a power supply, which will take power and convert it to usable energy by the device. If that power supply goes bad, especially if they used a cheap one, it's not a difficult fix to just change out a power supply. It's not anything that's actually doing the measuring of the MRI. It's just delivering power. It's an easy fix. But hospitals, repair professionals, and individuals are not allowed to touch that thing. And you have to buy a whole new MRI machine, making the cost astronomically high for all of us. Right to repair affects everybody. and it's important that we know about it. One of the biggest problems with medical devices occurred in March of 2020 when there became an extreme shortage of ventilators. And because those ventilators were running nonstop, some of them started to fail. Now, repair professionals were there to say, hey, we can fix that. But the manufacturers of those ventilators wouldn't allow it. And as you can imagine, they were a little busy during that time. They couldn't get to everyone who needed a repair. So emergency legislation had to be passed so that independent repair could fix those ventilators and save lives. But should it really have to come to that? So why are manufacturers doing it? Are they just these evil corporations that just want to cause harm and don't want you to be able to have access to what you need? Well, what they're saying is, well, we offer you a warranty, and we'll repair it under the warranty. And if it goes out of warranty, well, then it's probably not safe to use afterwards. Repairs are unsafe to make. You shouldn't make them. And they'll say e-waste is not as much of a problem. We'll take all the stuff that we make and we'll recycle it. I want to introduce you to a person who's probably the face of this right to repair movement. His name is Louis Rossmann. Louis Rossmann has a YouTube channel. And on his YouTube channel, he shows the most complicated and intricate repairs that can be done in the industry. He's got a repair shop in New York, and no matter what you bring, he can fix it. And he shows everybody how to do it. But he also uses so many colorful four-letter words while he's doing it. He's going to talk about how the manufacturer of that device has done everything to keep him from being able to repair it, and how it could have been so much easier and so much cheaper. But this movement has become more popular because of people like him who are sharing this information. The Wall Street Journal did an investigation, and they said, okay, how much is it costing you, the average person, to not be able to repair your products? Imagine if you could only take things to the dealership and never be able to fix them yourself or have an independent repair shop. Well, they took a out-of-warranty MacBook to the Apple Store, and the Apple Store said, this is going to cost you $1,200 to repair the laptop, which they would just think, well, I just buy another one. There's no point in spending that much money for a 2017 laptop. Then they took it to an authorized repair shop. The authorized repair shop by Apple is their certified authorized place. That place would quote them $9.99, a little cheaper. But the independent repair shop said, instead of taking 5 to 7 days, we'll do it the same day and charge you $325. Now that's the difference between buying a new laptop and keeping one. Independent repair saves you money, and we shouldn't have to go to the dealership every time. So what is the right to repair movement asking for? Just a couple of things. One, our devices should be constructed in a way that they're made to be repairable, because we know that they're going to fail someday. Two, users and independent repair providers should be able to access parts. Tools, manuals, software, all the things they need to be able to fix stuff, especially if it's after the warranty and the manufacturer just doesn't care about it anymore. Three, repairs should be by design and not hindered by software programming like software locks. And four, the repairability of a device should clearly be communicated by the manufacturer. Whenever you buy something, you should know how easy or difficult is this thing to repair and upgrade. What is right to repair not? Right to repair not is not saying, oh, we have to have clunky and ugly devices, or that we should use the same parts over and over again and we don't make progress. We're not saying that you shouldn't make things intricate or difficult to repair. Repair professionals are tinkerers. They know how to get into this stuff and fix it. They're just saying, don't do these anti-competitive practices. You don't have to dumb it down. Just give us access to the things we need so cool devices can be repaired. Now, let's talk about a few of the real risks inherent in repair. Can you imagine if someone repairs a product and it turns out that it wasn't repaired properly, which could cause damage to the user, which could hurt somebody? Those risks are there. But I generally think that there's an overall net positive. There's so many more people that can have a positive outcome from repair than not repair. And I'm not saying that I have all the answers about how to solve this problem, but it starts by being aware. Now, I want to make sure to take you to where we are today with the right to repair issue. Over and over again, in court, we were failing on being able to convince manufacturers and the government that we should be allowed to repair our products. Until recently. Legal action against companies for making their products difficult to repair. Marketing new companies as repair-friendly products so that you have actual choices between the ones that are repairable and the ones that are not. And a huge media blitz. Making sure that everybody is aware of all of these practices that I just told you about, and now it's starting to hurt the manufacturers in their pockets. It's starting to hurt them in their shareholders, with their reputation. And so now I'm really proud to tell you guys that the Biden administration passed this year, just a landmark executive order telling the FTC to require manufacturers to make their devices repairable and repairs accessible. This year, the FTC put out a report saying that all of the excuses manufacturers have been giving us as to why their parts and their devices can't be repaired, they don't have merit. Devices absolutely can be repairable, and we deserve to have repairable parts. I want to save some of this time, but how much time do we want to take? Want to do questions? Okay. So I'm gonna wrap up with a quick story here. I bought a repairable laptop for my sister, and I said, and I started taking I wanted to upgrade its parts. And I have a little 5-year-old nephew who was watching me as I was upgrading the parts of my sister's laptop. And I put it back together, fired it up. It was working great. It was awesome. But my sister and I weren't really paying attention to the 5-year-old nephew. And he had taken the screwdriver that I was using to upgrade the laptop, and he started taking apart the LED lamp that was sitting next to him, and he completely disassembled it. When I saw him do that, I thought to myself, great job, kiddo. I am so proud of you. And these are the kinds of things that lead to people who become the tinkerers that make amazing things. There was another tinkerer who loved taking things apart when he was a kid. And that kid grew up to be Steve Wozniak, one of the co-founders of Apple, the company that's keeping people from tinkering with their products. But tinkering and upgrading and repairing is fun. We can have a good time together doing it. And certainly, if you don't want to do your repairs, you deserve to have the choice, whether you want to go to the manufacturer if you want to, whether you want to go to their authorized repair shop, or if you want to go to an independent repair shop, or be able to do it yourself. Today, I wanted to bring forth to you some of the issues and some of the problems that are out there so that you'll be aware of them and be able to act on them. So when it comes time, think about when you buy a product, how's this going to last? Is it repairable? When it comes time to go to the ballot box, vote for people who support your right to repair and won't take money from those manufacturers that are keeping them from putting that legislation in motion. Oasis, we're going to win this fight, but let's just make it a landslide victory, and let's have a lot of fun fixing our devices along the way. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. So time for a couple of very quick questions. I'll bring the mic to you.
Thank you for that, and I'm so sorry. I'm just going to make a super brief comment that if anybody wants to find some of these tools, like a pentalobe screwdriver, which is what works on MacBooks and what have you, eBay and Amazon are the absolute best place to find these, like, cheap. They come in little packages. You can just type in the name of your thing. And I really wanted to add one thing as somebody who kind of does this for a living.
You do, yeah.
I only say that because, and 2 jobs too, I always thought for years that was too hard to do. For the longest time, my wife will back me up here, I wasn't the person you'd want taking stuff apart, but it's so capable that somebody who took humanities as a major can do it competently. And
Yes,
it
it's
really
not
isn't
difficult.
something that's out there. I really, for the longest time, like 5 years ago, I would have heard this talk and said, yeah, but I'm not that kind of guy. Anybody. It is so easy.
Yes,
That's
it's
it.
not,
Yeah,
it
it's
makes it
mind-blowing,
seems
yeah.
intimidating, but it's not. I'm a banker, Josh. So if a banker can take things apart, certainly people can. Now I will say, you can't turn everybody into a technician. That's okay. This talk is about making sure people are aware of the issues out there and making sure people know that they do have options. Maybe the next time one of your devices isn't working, instead of immediately throwing away and thinking you'll get a new one, maybe you will look to someone like Josh who repairs devices and say, hey, dude, how much to fix this for me? And that would save the world, and you'd probably work just fine.
Thank you so much for a great talk.
Thank you.
Having laws in place is fantastic, but I'm worried that the companies are just going to not comply and see it as, you know, the occasional lawsuit is the cost of doing business. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think there will be compliance?
Yeah, so the problem is definitely complex. Consumers point the finger at manufacturers, manufacturers point the finger at government, government points the finger at people, and all of us have something to contribute here. One, we have to start demanding more repairable devices. If we keep going and buying the newest and latest thing every single time, then they're not going to care. They're really not. They're going to think, yeah, okay, do whatever you want. We keep making all this money. We have to demand repairable products. Government, absolutely has to do its part by passing right to repair legislation. I mean, you wouldn't buy a car if you couldn't replace its tires. I mean, you wouldn't buy a bike if you couldn't replace the chain. And companies that do that stuff, they should be punished for it. So government has its place, and then manufacturers are going to do everything they possibly can to stop those things. The authorized repair, for example, is a way for them to say, okay, our authorized repairers, you can only replace the battery in the screen. What about the board? Nope, batteries and screens. What about the ports? No, batteries and screens. What about the keyboard? No, batteries and screens. Trackpads, batteries and screens. They're limiting the type of repairs that can be done, and that's what manufacturers are doing. They're trying to tell you, oh, you can repair it, but you can only repair what they want you to. And that's not independent. That battle is going to have to play out in government and in court, and it starts with us. But we're winning. It's getting better.
Thanks, Johnny.
Hey, Eric. Yeah, go ahead.
So I heard you say that making things difficult to repair is anti-competitive, but then later I think you put it correctly that it is actually spurring competition because somebody who has repairable devices is going to have a competitive edge. But that raises the question, why has it taken so long for competitors to come forward? And then I'm going to sneak in a second, and that's that if they can track all of these components and know who you are and what you've got, why are they not cooperating in identifying where your stolen device has gone?
Yeah, so thank you very much, Eric, for the question. Number one, the reason why is it difficult for competitors to show up is because people buy a ton of MacBooks. They're buying the stuff that they know that's popular. Apple is a designer brand. You know, so it's not just about whether it works or not, it's about whether it's cool or not. And and because they've been blocking everybody from being able to repair these things, you know, it's not easy to start a electronics manufacturing company. So mostly because of what people are choosing. But Eric, a lot of it has been because people had no idea about the issue. Only now do people very recently, the right to repair movement has been doing this for a long time. Major movements happening starting in 2013. So here we are, less than 10 years later, and Apple has said, okay, we're going to let you have a kit that lets you repair your iPhone. You can have a kit that repairs your MacBook. And companies like the Framework laptop, who create a laptop that's completely repairable, upgradable, you could take every single part of it apart, they just secured $18 million of funding. So what I'm saying is, it is happening. The competition is showing up. And the big boys are starting to say, oh no, we better change our ways, otherwise we're going to lose our traction. So those things are slow to happen, but they are absolutely happening, and they're difficult to do.
All right. we're actually kind of running late on time, and if I don't do something, they're never going to let me do this again. So,
I appreciate the questions, you guys.
Yes, thank you so much, Johnny.
Yeah,
If you
you're
could give him
welcome.
a round
Yeah.
of applause.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Love you, Houston Oasis.
And
Thank you for caring about this issue.
yes. And so while our musicians are queuing up for their final song, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer for a few quick announcements.
Hey guys, so next week we're having the Social Sunday. We all know we don't have a scheduled program. It's just kind of, let me move around the front so you don't have to screw your hand around to look see what I'm saying. So next Sunday we have the Social Sunday. Everybody come enjoy each other's company. The Sunday after that, August 21st, is when Seth Andrews will be here. For those of you who don't know Seth Andrews, he's a podcaster. He has a huge following. The last time he was here, we had almost 200 people in this room. So I just want to give everybody a heads up that we will probably need some extra help, extra food, extra greeters, people, we're just going to have a lot more people. I don't know that we'll have almost 200 again, but we will probably have a bigger crowd than we're used to. So if you can, come a little early on the 21st and be willing to help out. And it's going to be exciting. He's a really dynamic speaker, and I think you'll enjoy him. So, but I just want to give you a heads up. It's going to be different. Thanks.
Hey folks, Rich Andrews. Just wanted to let those of you who have never been here before let you know that we have the hat in the back. If you're able to give a little bit, that's great. Just having you come here is the main thing. If you're able to help a little bit with the rent and paying the musicians, just drop a little bit in the hat in the back or use Venmo or one of the other apps. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And our musicians are going to play their final song. Before you guys do, where can we hear more of your stuff?
Instagram.
Thank you.
Can't keep my hands to myself. Think I'll dust them off, put them back up on the shelf. In case my little baby girl is in need, and I'm coming at a left field. Oh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. I've been feeling this since 1986 now. I'll be over now, but I feel it still. Oh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. I'll be over now, but I feel it still. Got another mouth to feed. Leaving with a babysitter, mama calling grave digger. Gone with the foreign days. Am I coming at a left field? Oh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. I'll be over now, but I feel it still. Oh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Your love is on the base from my heart to eclipse now. I'll be over now, but I feel it still. Is it coming? 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 Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Love is on a base from my heart to eclipse now. I'll be over now, but I feel it still. Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. I'll be over now, but I feel it still. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
All right, y'all. Thank you very much to our musicians today. That was Chelsea Beech and JP, right? Yep. Thank you so much, JC Liao and Janey Rizvi, for your talks. Where's lunch at today? Where? Okay. Well, it's in the pamphlet. I didn't look at the pamphlet. All right, so I still can't hear what you're saying. What? Abdallah. Ask Marilyn. She knows. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming, everybody. Let's get some good turnout in the next few weeks for the talks coming up, and we'll see you next time.